Hey! You've actually clicked on the second video! Well, let me tell you something. I'll make this video as quick and as concise as possible, because we will go into stuff about platformer, which, if you're seeing this, you probably already know. So consider this a refresher of sorts. Anyhow, let's keep going from where we left off last time. The most important thing that must be implemented in a physics engine is gravity. Thankfully, doing that is quite simple. And that is why collisions are the second most important thing to implement. But how? Well, as with many other things, collision can be achieved in many different ways, of which I chose the easiest one possible. Tile collision. Visualize a dot inside our tile map, and now try to move it to a new position. If this new position isn't inside a solid tile, then we don't have to do anything. And if it is inside a solid tile, then we have a collision. Add some math to this, and we can find the furthest possible position that our dot can get to. Repeat this a few times around the player, and boom! Collisions. I mean, how hard can this possibly be, right? All we need to do is check the input array that we made last time, and then just set the speeds according to that, right? And here's the movement! But it just doesn't feel right, you know what I mean? Like the character is barely under my control. There's a lot of stuff that we can do to improve these controls. Let's begin with improving our horizontal movement, which can be achieved by no longer setting the X speed to its maximum value as soon as we press a key, or to 0 as soon as we release it. Instead, we'll accelerate towards it, providing a sort of analog feel to our movement. And already, this is feeling far nicer. But we can still keep going. Look at the player jumping. Notice how every jump is the exact same height? This is far more problematic than you'd imagine, as it doesn't allow to do finer movements that are needed in platformers like this. To solve this, we'll divide the player's Y speed by 4 as soon as they release the jump key whilst jumping. And now jumping feels far better. But since we're talking about jumping, when should the player be allowed to jump? Well, the answer to that may seem simple. The player should only be allowed to jump when it's touching the ground. And for as logical as this system may seem, it's actually not that good because of two special situations. Let's take a look at the first one. The player walks off a ledge and then immediately tries to jump. What happens? The character doesn't jump. But to the player, it feels like the character didn't follow their orders, which is frustrating. Remember, in relation to video games, the player experience almost always goes above accuracy. With that in mind, we can allow the player to jump even a few frames after they left the ground by having a timer that starts counting down from the moment you are grounded. Then we can only jump if you are grounded, or if this timer is greater than 0. Don't forget to set this timer to 0 the moment the player jumps. This idea also applies to this other situation. Here, the player attempts to jump just before they reach the ground. Obviously, the character doesn't jump, as it isn't grounded, and it hasn't just walked off a ledge. Still, the player yet again feels like the character isn't responding to them. But we can't just let the player jump before hitting the ground. It would look and feel weird. To avoid this, I'll make yet another timer. This one will be set to 15 the moment that the jump key is pressed. Then, we can try to jump on every frame where this timer is greater than 0, thereby completely solving our problem. And there's one final thing that we can do to really tie all of this together. Animations! Which is actually extremely simple. All we need is two variables, an M and an IM timer. The first one will control which frame of the player shift to show, and the second one will control how long it takes to change between frames. We can also flip the character by making a set of flip duplicate frames. Add some extra logic to these two concepts, and there you go! Animations. I know the game feels much better. And hey, since I'm at it, I'll also make a better level editor so I can design more places to use this shiny new movement system in. Look at it, even runs on the iPod. Now let's cone. By the power afforded to me by the level editor, I wish to place spikes right here! Okay, maybe that was too much of a show because these things don't do anything. Even after I added a newfangled system for detecting collision with them. And that's because we still have not implemented that. Which should be easier than usual, as my game doesn't have a light system, meaning that we can just shove the player back to the start of the level, which will be marked by this tile. Oh, and before I forget, we can also add checkpoints using this system as well. Just copy the code for the spikes and replace the section that kills the player with a new one that tells the game to spawn the player at the checkpoint's position, whilst also setting its own tile to the taken checkpoint one. And with just a bit more code, we can wrap this whole dying thing into a nice curtain transition. Looks great, doesn't it? But still, there's something dangerous to the player that we just haven't added yet. Oh, I've just remembered enemies! Which also reminds me... Meet our darling boys! Mr. Walker, Dr. Flyer, and finally, Shumpy McShumpsting. But what do they do? Is what you might ask yourself. Well, let me tell ya. Firstly, these two are basically the exact same thing. They just move from side to side until they hit the wall or the brand new enemy stopper tile. And like the spikes, when the player collides with them, they'll die. But unlike the spikes, if the player jumps on them, then the enemy will die. Finally, there's this other thing. All it does is jump every couple of seconds, and the player cannot kill it. If there's collision between this thing and the player is going to die. Anyways, let's keep going on to step 8. If there's something that goes hand in hand with platformers, then that is coins. So let's add those by yet again taking advantage of the system that we made for spikes. And there they are, coins. What? You can't tell how many coins I have? Well, just give me a moment. I can't believe I have to do this. You just can't get yourself. My God. And done! And it even looks quite nice. I guess I should have never mistrusted you. Anyways, you know what other thing can abuse the spike system? Flags! Let's add those. All we have to do is load a new level upon contact with the flag. To make it nicer, we can also hijack the transition system for death and delay the level change to the end of the transition. But on that note, how will we know what level to load? Well, there's a very smart way to do this. I didn't do that. Instead, I put the level index of the next level inside the tile above the flag. This also requires some more logic to ignore that tile everywhere else. We can actually refine this whole level changing thing by making a nice level selector like the one that Super Mario Bros. 3 has. And now, instead of loading into a level directly, we're going back and forth into this level selector, unlocking new levels every time. This also allows us to replay levels over and over again. Before we can continue, I have decided to add a few sound effects and some music to make this feel a bit more lively. This really adds a nice extra touch. Anyways, you know what I also managed to implement? Cutscenes! Look at them on the actual bare metal of the iPod. Isn't it just great? In fact, that's the whole game right there. And that is everything I added. Okay, I actually am lying about that, but if I were to spoil the whole game, then where would be the fun in playing it, huh? Which reminds me of something. The game is now live on itch.io. There's web, Linux, Windows and Roxbox versions alongside the whole source code. Go see it! Anyways, bye!